All right, let's get right into it. We're looking at a global economy that's, well, hitting the brakes. And according to a new analysis from Nordic Outlook, the reason boils down to two simple but powerful words: tariffs and uncertainty.
And dramatic might just be the understatement of the year. The report opens with this line, and it really sets the tone. Everyone expected an aggressive start, but the analysis suggests the reality of it all caught even the experts off guard.
And this gets to the heart of our first big idea. The problem, as the report lays it out, isn't just a specific tariff or a single new rule. It's the feeling of confusion, this cloud of unpredictability that's now hanging over the entire global economy.
Yeah, and this isn't just about boring spreadsheets or economic models. This uncertainty is actually changing how people behave. Businesses are getting nervous about making big investments. Households are thinking twice before spending. It's like a psychological brake is being slammed on the world's economic engine.
So to really get a handle on this uncertainty, we've got to look at where it's coming from. And that's the new U.S. trade policy, which the report basically calls a tariff war. So what exactly are the new rules of the game here?
Well, for starters, there's this really broad stroke move, a 10% base tariff that applies to almost everyone. This is a huge shift. It creates a new cost for an enormous amount of global trade pretty much overnight. But believe me, that's just the starting point.
And then there's this, a massive 145% tariff aimed squarely at China. Just look at that number. It shows you how targeted and, frankly, how severe this new policy can get. We're talking way, way beyond that 10% baseline.
So you're probably asking, why? Right? What's the end game for a policy this aggressive? Well, as it turns out, it's not really about just one thing.
The report describes these tariffs as a kind of Swiss Army knife, a multi-tool. The idea is to use them to tackle everything from migration and trade imbalances to boosting government income, bringing factories back to the U.S., and making sure the country can produce its own strategically important goods. It's trying to do it all at once.
So, with a policy this complex now in play, what are the actual effects? Well, the report then starts tracing the consequences, these ripple effects, as they spread out across the entire globe.
And the first casualty is global trade itself. Both trade and just general demand for stuff are taking a serious hit. You've got fewer ships moving cargo because businesses and people are simply buying less. And because of that, economists everywhere are having to lower their expectations for global growth.
And here are the cold, hard numbers. You can see world growth is expected to slow down to 2.8% in 2025. But here's the real kicker. Look who gets hit the hardest. The forecast for U.S. growth gets cut by more than half, dropping all the way to 1.1%. And China, while still growing, also sees a big downward revision. The two main countries in this trade spat are feeling the biggest impact, by far.
Okay, now this is where the story gets really interesting. Because while a trade war might seem to have predictable economic effects, the financial markets started doing something that, honestly, a lot of people just didn't see coming. And it all has to do with the U.S. dollar.
See, for decades, the dollar's strength has been built on this idea of USA exceptionalism. It's this core belief that America is just the best, safest, most reliable place in the world to park your money. And that belief has led to this constant, massive flow of capital into the country, which keeps the dollar strong.
But, and this is a huge but, the report makes a pretty bold claim. That era is now coming to an end. Why? Well, because this new policy environment is shaking the very foundations of the dollar's long-term strength.
And the key here is that this isn't just some temporary blip. The analysis is pointing to a fundamental loss of confidence. As global investors get more and more nervous about how unpredictable U.S. policy is becoming, they're starting to look around for other options. And Europe, interestingly enough, is seen as a place that could benefit as that capital starts looking for a new home.
So this is way bigger than just the dollar's exchange rate. Its potential decline is really a symptom of a much larger shift. And this leads us to the biggest question in the entire analysis. Is the whole global financial system, the one we've all known for decades, at a major, history-making turning point?
The report has a powerful name for what's happening: geofinancial fragmentation. The core idea is that the single connected global financial system we're all used to is, well, it's fracturing, it's breaking apart, with politics and national interests starting to pull it into separate competing blocks.
And this fragmentation is a direct threat to the two pillars that have held up the world economy for the better part of a century. First, The idea that the US dollar is the one and only undisputed world currency. And second, that a US government bond is the safest possible investment on planet Earth. Both of those fundamental beliefs are now being seriously questioned.
And just to show you how radical the thinking has become, the report points to this hypothetical but very significant strategic idea that's being talked about. They've nicknamed it the Mar-a-Lago Accord, and let me tell you, it's a complete break from the old rules of the game.
Okay, so let's break this down because it's pretty wild. The proposal would basically involve using the threat of tariffs to force other countries to sell off their U.S. bonds. Now, that would weaken the dollar, which would help American factories, but, and this is the crazy part, it would also mean the U.S. is essentially defaulting on its debt. It's a high-stakes geopolitical power play that could throw global markets into total chaos.
Which brings us here, to this crossroads. The old certainties that govern global trade and finance are fading away. We have tariffs creating massive uncertainty. The dollar's dominance is no longer a given, and the very structure of the global financial system is starting to fragment. This analysis doesn't give us an easy answer, but it leaves us with the one question that really matters right now. What on earth comes next?